Hi. Well, today's an extremely happy day. I have just taken delivery of my new motorbike, a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. And we can do a bit of an unboxing because you get a box. The bloke actually forgot that and had to come back and give it to me. What you get is the bike, 2 keys, the Royal Enfield Owner's Manual, Yeah. And this box, this very exciting box. I wonder if you get a key ring in here. Because there's no key ring on the keys. You think they'd take the opportunity. How's this open? Very neat. And so you are presented with, good heavens, not only do you get a key ring, you get something that weighs an ounce or two. Look at that. That's genuine leather, I think. Smells like genuine leather. I bought shoes in India where the leather hasn't been cured properly, and I mean, man, if you think you've got smelly feet. Right, that's very nice. A pin, or a button, lapel pin. Cool. Royal Enfield Riders Club Europe. What's this, a neck warmer or something? Well, it's just a bit of cloth. Since 1901, Royal Enfield Riders Club Europe. Yay! Ooh! You get a mug? How cool is that? Ride! Bloody right. Royal Enfield, a motorcycling way of life since 1901. The world's oldest motorcycle manufacturer. Well, that was exciting, wasn't it? Right, now... Oh, there's something out. No, it's just at the bottom. Bike is in the garage. I'm not actually going to ride it today. What I'm going to do today is give it a good coating of ACF 50, and then tomorrow morning let it seep in. It creeps, so it's best to let it seep in overnight, get into all the very exciting nooks and crannies, and then tomorrow morning I'll wheel her out and burn it all off. It looks quite spectacular when it's burning all off, actually. But I'll see you tomorrow. I'm burning off the ACF. There's a lot of smoke in the wood. The next stage is I've got to write down some of the areas where it's get it tidy. And then I'm going to have a good look around the bike. And that'll be next bit. After about 10 minutes, all that's calmed down. I imagine that's oil that's built up in fumes. Transport to transport and what have you. And the ACF seems to have burnt off. A little bit nice smell with ACF. So I'm going to stop it now. Okay, well, here we have my 2021 Royal Enfield Interceptor BS6. I've just warmed her up and burnt all the ACF I put in there. I got her yesterday, covered her in ACF, let it seep in overnight, burnt it off this morning. Now, is it not a thing of beauty? And not only is it a thing of beauty, it's also extremely simple. And what I mean by simple is there's zero electronics. The only electronics on this are ABS. The dash is 2 analog clocks, a rev counter and a speedometer, a little bit of info there, trip meters and what have you. That's all I need. What else do you need on a road bike in the UK? You know, especially on this one, I mean, 10 levels of traction control? Do me a favour. It is, of course, a 650cc parallel twin. And to me, like, the important thing about these bikes, or one of the things about these bikes, is they're so simple, it's so easy to modify. And morning. God, this woman just passed me giving these really suspicious looks. What? Right, they're really simple, really easy to modify. I've already bought a load of new bits, but I'm not going to fit them, and certainly not modding the engine or anything else until I've got past the first service, which is 300 miles. And during that 300 miles, I've got to keep it down to 4,000 revs. Okay, the bits I bought, like, what you've got to realise is this bike is built to a price, okay? So although everything is perfectly functional and is great as is, you can do a lot to them. So what I'm going to replace, well, the bits I've got already are levers. I got everything from Tech Bike Parts, to be honest. I've got adjustable clutch and brake levers to fit. These do the job, but they are what they are. I got Tech Bike Parts shockers to replace these shockers because, you know, looking at the Facebook groups, reading all the reviews, one of the areas they save money is the suspension. It's very, very sort of basic. Tech Bike Parts will replace this whole unit. The shame is I'll lose this gold bit. I suppose I could always say it's got a piggyback like that, but it's not gold. I quite like it gold. I might have that repainted. Other bits I've got are for the forks here. Oops. I've got some caps that fit in there and take 6mm off the damping, is it? I'm not sure. I'm not very up on suspension. There's a guy selling them on the groups in Facebook. You have to email him to get him to make you some. If you email him, he'll make you some. 2 caps, 26 quid. What else have I got? Pegs. Right, now this is, look, if you're looking for areas where they save money, this is a classic. See this brake pedal? It's just a bit of metal that's been bent, isn't it? It does the job, absolutely fine. But again, Tech Bike Parts, I've replaced those. When I get around to modding the engine, I'll be fitting the booster plug, the high flow DNA air filter. I'm definitely going to replace these with the cannons from Tech Bike Parts. Whether I place the headers or not, I'm still thinking about, because they contain the cat. Those are in fact double skinned, these headers. And you can get straight through ones from Tech and add the Canon end pipes on them. Which I'm quite tempted to do, but I don't think Greta would approve of the headers, so best thing to do is probably not tell her. Yeah. And that's it really, unless something else comes up as I ride it. I think that's about all I'm going to do. I'd say one thing I thought, morning, long and hard about is this, and these big square indicators. In the States they're round, they get them round, which I prefer. But I am in fact old enough to remember when I first saw a motorbike with indicators, and I can tell you exactly where I was. I was in Hereford driving, so it must have been after 1974. I was turning right at a junction onto the inner ring road, and the motorbike in front of me had indicators, and I thought it looked ridiculous. So ridiculous that I told my dad about it. I said, look, it looks stupid. But when they came out, this is what they looked like. Like, the Japanese started fixing them, and what they were big chunks of plastic like this. Oops, bit of ACF there. Somehow I got it on plastic, which wasn't very bright. So that's a big styling cue. Like, what you can do is get little LEDs indicators, like, that in effect make them disappear. Because they're so small, being LEDs, they're very, very bright. And you can get a rear light, which is just a little round one, right, which is much more 60s. Right, now, the styling of this bike, it almost looks to me like an amalgam of every British bike I've ever known. And the question I had to answer was, do I want it to be sort of late 60s or early 70s? As far as the indicators and the rear lights concerned. And I think, I mean, the interest of, well, saving money as well, I don't mind these. They're only halogens, they're not LEDs, but I'm not going to be riding at night, and they're quite bright enough. So, yeah. But another thing, you can get exhausts, right, that come down. You can get short stinger exhausts that sort of end about there. I don't like that at all, because to me the thing about this design is I really like the way the pipes define the bottom of the bike and sweep up like that. So although I might be replacing both the headers and the pipes and the cans, I'm going to keep that look big, you know, right out to nearly the rear bumper. And from the rear, I think the exhausts look great. And here you got, you see, that looks just like an old British bike with a separate gear change, separate gearbox. Yeah, very, very happy so far though. I mean, the quality is fine. If you want to have a look at the worlds, ooh, AFC, ACF. I'll have to get that off in a sec. In fact, sort of nowish. Right, look how easy it is to replace the shockers. Although I'll be giving it to my mate Steve to do. Right, now I'm just going to spend 10 or 20 minutes getting to know the bike, like getting these side panels off and seeing what's under there, and getting to know how to do it, how to take the seat off and what have you. And then I'm going to go for a little spin. I think it doesn't look like it's going to rain. I'll go for a little spin. So I'll see you in a bit. Yeah, behind this side, you actually get a toolkit here, which is quite handy. And there's a toggle for the seat. Neat. Well, another thing I'm going to be testing is, I'm recording this through the AirPods with my helmet on now, but I'm also going to be testing the Insta360 XT. This is how I got it mounted. It's 360 degrees, of course, so it doesn't really matter. Although there is a bit of a seam between the two lens, so on the final product there will be a seam here. And that's more or less in line with this handlebar, so that should be alright, because, you know, I'll either be looking forward or backward. So we'll give this vlogging thing a go. Right, if it's any successful, you'll see it next. I doubt it. Okay, well, this is my first ever run on the Interceptor, and we're going to go down Tewkesbury High Street to the gas station to fill up with petrol. It came the fuel gauge on these bikes is notoriously unreliable. And it came with sort of like, it's only a bar or two missing, but it still took 10 quid's worth. So I think the traditional method of opening up the cap and having a look in the tank is going to be the way to determine how much petrol you have. But apart from that, my initial impressions were that it was just really easy to ride. The one thing I do find, because coming from a Quacker ZX6R and having that bike for 4 or 5 years, I was just totally used to clip-ons and just being leant forward with all your weight on your wrist. And on this Interceptor, it feels to me, it isn't like it, but it feels to me like I'm going along using ape hangers. My arms seem to be about 10 yards apart, my hands, and they feel sort of like they're up by my ears somewhere. Because on the ZX6R, of course, you're going along with your bum in the air and all your weight on your wrists. So, yeah, much easier, much more comfortable. And here we are, we're just going across the mini roundabout. And we're going to pull into the gas station. Unfortunately, the Insta360, I'd set it up for fireworks, and I forgot to change it back to auto before I made this clip. I've corrected the colours a bit in iMovie, but there you go. I mean, that's all I can do. Right, next bit I'll show you the main run after I'd filled up. I went round to my mate Steve's and had a bit of a run.
Oh, look. Here's some flappy gasket.
No,
There
oh yeah.
is some flappy gasket.
Alright.
And there is your first bit of oil. I told you. I fucking told you. You've got to look. It's weeping on that. Oh. Right. So you can see, you're going to have to get right down underneath. There's a fucking sense. Take your helmet off, mate. Otherwise you're going to scratch it on the floor. You need to be aware of these things.
Hey?
You need to be aware of these things, mate. You know that.
Oh, I can't believe it.
Oops. Okay, right. Right.
Take photos, Steve.
See that there? Look on your phone. Right.
Yeah.
See the plastic cover? It's meant to be over that nut. Now, it might be that weeping, but I wiped that oil from here. Look. All wet under there.
Okay, well, I left Steve's and went on my run. Now, this bit proved to me that the AirPod recording to the iPhone in my pocket, in the helmet, isn't working because it came out sounding like this. Right, well, here we go. It appears to be, it appears to be recording using voice memos on my iPhone. So. And as we got further out into the country, further along, and started going a bit quicker, it got more and more distorted, really. It didn't work at all. So, best thing I can think of to do, I mean, this is my first run, so I want it recorded for posterity. First run on the Interceptor 650. So I think what I'll do is I'll raid the YouTube library and set the rest of this to music. But to cut a long story short, Right, the bike is very easy to ride. It's much more upright, although I did find still had a bit of a bend in my back. I might start thinking in terms of bar risers, or maybe sweeping them back a bit more, bending them back a bit more. I'm going to have to think about that. The gear change, I mean, you get used to it. I was getting used to it by the end of this ride, really. But it is a bit weird that it's such a short distance between the peg and the actual tip of the gear change. Or maybe it's just angled down too much. Another thing I'd heard about that I definitely noticed was the side stand is very awkward, right under the foot pegs again. And again, every time you put the foot down, I found it fouling the foot pegs. These are things I'll just get used to, okay? But it is quite a lump. It's quite a heavy lump. It's more top heavy than the ZX6R. So when you're paddling along with your feet, when you turn the engine off, you have to have them very, very wide to avoid the foot pegs. So there's something not quite right, sort of ergonomically for me, between the bars and the pegs. But it's perfectly alright. I mean, it's miles more comfortable than the ZX6R, that's for sure. Just because you're not leaning forward and you've got all that weight on your wrists. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It's very, very easy to drive. The gear changes just snicks in, no problems at all. It's not particularly quick because of that peg setup, but as I say, as you get used to it, things will improve. The biggest failure was actually the connection between the AirPod and the iPhone for recording. I'm going to have to look into better ways for recording sound. I think this footage is fine, and when I get used to both editing and just editing really, probably make a lot more of its capabilities. But for this, I've just got directional lock on, so it's just pointing straight ahead, and it worked great as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I can't see any vibration. We did go. I did. That's right. I did go over this little series of bumps, like that, and I did really feel it. So I think the upgrade to the rear suspension is going to be well worth it. But as I say, I'm going to do that after 300 miles. But I thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, I just relaxed straight into it after the first couple of miles. It felt fine. And then, as you see later on, did a slow turn around a triangle. Really nice turning circle. It's just easy. It's just easy to ride, It doesn't feel... You see, like even on a lot of these rides, like along here, the speed limit is 50. Then we turn right at the end, and there's a bit of a non-restricted road, which in the UK means 60. And then we instantly hit villages again, which means 30 and 40. What was more interesting to me on this ride was working out I've got to keep it below 4,000 revs for the first 300 miles, and what speeds that equated to, sort of in each gear. I'll have to go on a few more rides before I get that right. I did stray over 4,000 revs a couple of times, but I wasn't thinking. I was driving it like a ZX6R, riding it like a ZX6R, without really thinking about it. And but really enjoyable, even if this learner driver on the scooter was pulling away from me. So anyway, that's it. I'll turn you over to some YouTube music now.